The witch's eyes held a foreboding glimmer as she handed me a pouch filled with strange herbs. Her ancient, gnarled hands shook slightly, betraying an underlying sense of urgency. "Wolf's bane," she rasped out, her voice a dry whisper that seemed to echo through the silence of the old woods. Her piercing gaze held mine, as if trying to imprint the importance of her words deep within my soul. Her words hung in the air, heavy with an ominous warning. A werewolf, a mangy scourge, had been tormenting our lands, leaving death in its wake. The Johnson family had been its latest victims, brutally slaughtered, their fate a chilling reminder of the beast's insatiable hunger. I was skeptical, of course, folklore and old wives' tales, but her earnestness was compelling. I took the pouch, tucking it away, praying that I would never need its protection. As I left the witch's house, the haunting image of the slaughtered Johnson family flashed in my mind. The moon was a haunting orb in the night sky, casting long, eerie shadows across the landscape. A shroud of silence fell upon the world, broken only by the distant hush of the wind whispering through the trees. As the final vestiges of daylight retreated, a primal fear began to creep into my heart, a fear that was as old as humankind itself. The fear of the unknown, the fear of the dark, the fear of the predator that lurked within it. The memory of the Johnson family sprung unbidden to my mind. Their laughter, their kindness, their lives snuffed out in a night of terror by the insatiable beast that now haunted my thoughts. The image of their home, once filled with warmth and joy, now standing as a hollow, gruesome monument to the beast's savagery. Their fate was a chilling reminder of the deadly menace that prowled under the cloak of night. Suddenly, a distant howl pierced the stillness of the night. The sound was a harrowing symphony of primal ferocity and insatiable hunger. It was the call of the beast, the werewolf. The howl seemed to echo from everywhere and nowhere at once, a chilling reminder of the predator lurking just beyond the veil of darkness. My hand instinctively clutched the pouch the old woods witch had given me. The wolf's bane. Its texture was rough and uneven, a stark contrast to the smooth fear that had engulfed my heart. I could feel the power emanating from it, a thin beacon of hope in the face of the impending terror. It was my only protection against the monstrous creature that was surely stalking me from the shadows. Each passing second felt like an eternity, the silence broken only by the distant howl of the beast and the pounding of my heart. I clung to the hope that the wolf's bane would protect me, praying that I would see the dawn of another day. The howl of the beast echoed through the night, sending a chill down my spine. Suddenly, a low growl resonated in the darkness, and the air around me dropped several degrees. A chill ran down my spine, and my heart pounded in my chest like a drum in the silence of the night. The ominous presence was undeniably close, its feral energy palpable in the thick, heavy air. There was a rustle in the underbrush, and out of the inky blackness, the werewolf materialized. The beast towered over me, its eyes glowing a fierce, unnatural yellow. Its snarling muzzle was a terrifying sight, and its sharp teeth gleamed ominously in the pale moonlight. Paralyzed with fear, I could only stand there, my breath hitching in my throat. The werewolf's hulking figure was a grotesque silhouette against the dark forest backdrop, a nightmare come to life. In the face of such terror, it was easy to forget everything. But then it came to me, the old woods witch's raspy voice echoing in my mind, the memory of her gnarled hands handing me a pouch. "Wolf's bane," she had said, "in case the mangy scourge ever darkens your door again." My trembling hands found the pouch in my pocket. It was my only hope, my only weapon against the monstrous beast that now stood before me. Dread filled me as I opened the pouch, the scent of the strange herbs filling my nostrils. My hands shook as I pulled out a handful of the wolf's bane. I prayed silently, hoping against hope that the witch's words held truth. With a swift movement, I threw the herbs at the werewolf, my heart pounding louder than ever. The effect was instantaneous. The werewolf recoiled as if struck, its growls turning into a monstrous roar. Its glowing eyes seemed to dim a little, and it took a step back, its gaze holding a hint of fear. I watched, my breath held, as the werewolf turned and retreated into the darkness of the woods. As the herbs hit the beast, it let out a monstrous roar and retreated it into the darkness. The old woods witch's words rang true, and for the moment, I was safe. But the night was far from over, and the werewolf was still out there, lurking in the shadows. A chilling silence followed the roar of the beast. The only sound in the darkness was the pounding of my heart. It was over, at least for now. The werewolf, the mangy scourge that had once darkened my door and slaughtered the Johnson family, was gone. I could still feel the icy tendrils of fear coiling in my stomach, but there was something else now. Relief. The wolf's bane, a mysterious herb given to me by the old woods witch, had worked. The creature had recoiled at its scent, its terrifying eyes filled with fear, before it disappeared into the night. I remember clutching the pouch of wolf's bane, my heart filled with gratitude for the witch's wisdom. She had been right all along. The supernatural was real. The old woods witch had not been spouting mere fairy tales, but had been imparting vital knowledge, a survival guide to the horrors that lurked in the shadows. As the adrenaline of the encounter began to ebb, reality set in. My hands shook as I considered what could have happened. The werewolf could have torn me apart as it had the Johnsons, but it didn't. I was alive. I was safe, for now. But what about tomorrow? What about the next full moon? I knew then that I couldn't live in fear. I had to understand these creatures, these monsters that prowled under the cloak of darkness. I had to learn how to protect myself and those I held dear. I resolved then to visit the old woods witch again. I had so many questions, so much to learn about the things that went bump in the night. The night's events had changed me. I was no longer just a simple townsperson, living in blissful ignorance of the supernatural world around me. I was a survivor, a fighter, and I was determined to stay that way. I knew then that I had to learn more, to protect myself and my loved ones from the horrors that lurked in the night. As the first rays of dawn pierced the night, I found myself standing once again at the witch's door. The air was heavy with a sense of foreboding and the rich, earthy scent of the forest. My heart pounded in my chest as I knocked, the sound echoing through the silence of the early morning. The door creaked open, revealing the witch, her eyes like two embers glowing in the dim light. Her gaze was piercing, yet behind her stern exterior, I could sense a deep wisdom and understanding. "You've returned," she said, her voice like the rustling of dried leaves. "Is the wolf's bane not enough?" I need to know more, I implored, about these creatures, about how to protect myself and others. The witch studied me for a moment, her gaze unblinking. "Knowledge is a dangerous thing," she finally said, "but perhaps it is necessary." She beckoned me inside, her gnarled hand trembling ever so slightly. As I stepped into her humble abode, my senses were assaulted by the potent aroma of herbs and something else, something ancient and primal. The witch shuffled around her cluttered room, pulling out dusty tomes and strange artifacts, each one more mysterious than the last. "Sit," she commanded, pointing to a wooden stool. "Learning about the supernatural is not for the faint of heart. It requires courage, resilience, and a willingness to peer into the darkest corners of existence." As she spoke, her voice took on a reverent tone, as if she were reciting a sacred ritual. "This knowledge comes with a price, and once you know, there's no going back." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words, but my resolve was stronger than my fear. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead, ready to learn the secrets of the night, ready to confront the nightmares that lurked in the shadows. "I understand," I said, meeting her gaze with a determination I didn't know I possessed. As I stepped into the witch's house, I knew my life would never be the same.